You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona, and with me always are my good friends.
Jay from the hills of Texas.
And we got crickets because AK Mike is not with us today.
What? Who gave him a day off?
Again?
I know, yeah, again, right? But we do have a special guest, and we'll get to him in just 1 second. But first, let's reach out to our sponsors. If you're in the need for a incredibly wonderful battery, go to rcbatteriesusa.com. Try out A Power Batteries. Use our code PFPC10 and get our discount. For reliability and strength in batteries, try A Power Batteries. Also, for 3D Aero Ventures, use the code PARKFLYER, and that'll get you a discount on any downloadable 3D printable aircraft. So please jump on their website and download some plans, 3D print them on your local 3D printer, and then go out and fly. Let us know how it goes. So having paid some bills, let's welcome Steve Wattenberg to our show.
Well, how we doing, guys?
Doing very well. Now, Steve has been very active on our phone number, 830-444-4943. He's left us a couple of messages. The biggest one, I think we were chastised for calling you the escape guy, but he has set us straight with the electronic speed controller.
There we go.
So we're trying. It was something that we had way back when. I think AK Mike, when he was fairly new, was looking at the ESCs, and since he's a computer guy, just used the word escape, and it kind of stuck. But we are trying very diligently to use the correct terms. That way, everybody over at the other podcast worlds won't get so angry.
Yeah, really.
There are a few of us from other. I sort of come from, not that I was on the podcast, but the podcast listener group that I was part of. There's a few of them that have OCD worse than I do.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Watch out.
Yeah, no, it's always good to hear from our listeners. We really appreciate it. Give us a call and let us know how we're doing, or send us an email. And we're going to try and have some of you guys on the show. I know there's been a couple of guys that have volunteered. The last time Jay was stuck on his own with all of us out, everybody jumped in there and was like, "Hey, how come you didn't call me? I would have loved to have been on podcast."
Yeah, well, I'm sure they would have liked to call at 2:00 in the morning. Hey, can you do a podcast right now?
Exactly. That's one of the things too with Mike and I both working and me being out of the country a lot, and putting our schedules together is a little more difficult. So, in that particular time, I just happened to have an issue at work that I didn't get back in time, but we're a little more flexible. It's not like we do it every, the podcast comes out on a regular basis, but our recording kind of slides back and forth a couple of days whenever we can get everybody together. So we're a little more flexible on that. We shouldn't be. We should do it every week on Tuesdays or something, so everybody can kind of join us in a live session. But unfortunately, our schedules don't allow that. So we kind of do the best we can.
And that's what I've seen with some of the other podcasts. They used to, Wednesday night was actually the AOA night,
sure.
Which is the Angle of Attack podcast. Some of the people even still get together on Discord. There's a Discord group that's Angle of Attack Discord, and we'll sit there and chat for a little while. But
that's awesome.
I decided to take the night out to talk to you guys.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah. Woohoo.
All right. Well, bring us up a little to speed. You mentioned earlier, kind of in the pre-show, just talking to us, that you are the official president of an indoor club that's at an ice rink or something. So, yeah, bring us up to speed.
Yep. I'm actually the president of the Watervliet Wind Warriors in Watervliet, New York. That's outside of Albany, which is the capital of New York. No, we are not New York City. This is upstate.
People don't understand that.
I know it's one of those things. We're north of Yonkers, so
there you go.
Whatever. But my flying career actually started as just watching and going to events back in 2002 with my son, who's autistic and just seemed to love the plane. So we just kept going to different events, and I found the indoor club at Watervliet, and we used to go once a week and watch them. And he'd watch a little, and I'd spend more time watching. Then finally, somebody handed me a transmitter and said, "Here, try this."
The beginning of the end.
Yes, pretty much. Actually, I'm still in touch with the guy. He's now down in Alabama. The guy who actually handed me the first transmitter, Stan Kapreski. He's scale heli guy for the most part, but
very nice.
It's gotten from there. As I said, I started out really flying in 2007, and here I am 13 years later. I'm running a club as much as we need to run it. We're fairly loose on rules and stuff, but
sure.
But it's I'm having a good time. I get out. I fly. Seems almost more during the winter because we're there once a week, and depending on the days in the summer, there's always something to do. I try to fly one day of the weekend, and every once in a while I'll get out for a lunch fly. The other club I'm a member of is EPA in Scotia, and we fly at a park. And sometimes I work at GE, and the flying field is about 10 minutes away from there. So I'll jump out and fly. Go out for a couple flights, or actually yesterday it was one flight. I got a SIG riser from, I don't know if you know Dave Garwood. He used to write for the AMA magazine.
Okay.
The slope soaring section. Well, he's an enabler of the first class.
Oh, there you go.
He actually handed me his old SIG riser, and yesterday I put it up, and it was the right air yesterday.
Sure.
I went up in about 200 feet, and I was up for 45 minutes.
Wow.
On that
Nice.
that run. So then I had to land and go back to work. So
there was your whole lunch. Hope you get it.
Yeah, that was lunch.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot when I worked here in Phoenix. I had an office around the corner, and I used to take an airplane, throw it in my trunk, and then at lunch I'd go out into the parking lot. There was a big field behind the parking lot, and I'd go fly in that field almost every day. And luckily for me, I only had to climb up on top of our complex roof twice to retrieve my airplane. But both days it was really windy here. So.
Well, I work at GE in Schenectady, GE Power, and the building that I'm in is sort of like in the back in the corner of the dark. Our parking lot is 90% of the time empty. So yeah, I can fly something small back there every once in a while too. Throw something out or fly indoors. I'm into little tiny whoops in FPV. So I have Meteor 65. I have a Newbie drone Hummingbird, and those get to fly around the office. The couple guys that work with me, they tolerate it. So.
Wow, that's good news that they tolerate it.
Sort of have no choice. I just take the thing and fly around.
Well, there you go. I hear you. Well, actually, I think I flew. Don't you have a tiny whoop, Jay?
Yep,
I
sure do.
Flew it at your place. And
I
think Jim had one too that I flew.
Yeah, he did.
Is that the one that I lost?
That was the one you lost in the woods.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, one-way whoops. That's nothing unusual.
Well, he got it up kind of high, and then the wind started blowing it, and then he couldn't get it back against the wind, and
Well, that's the nice thing about the brushless. They have the power. The new ones are.
It was a windy
really
day. It was
nice.
a brushless one, and it was a windy day, and these just kind of got up and out. It was just one of those things. Luckily, we were able to.
It was. And the hard part was that everywhere we were flying, Jay's got a flying field, it's got trees on the backside. And when we were flying around, we were doing fine. And it just so happened that the battery, I had already been flying for like 3 or 4 minutes. And then I went up above the tree line. And when I did, the wind just started moving backwards. And I had the thing full throttle tilted, trying to get it to turn left and right, do something. And it just was moving out, man. And I finally thought, well, I can try this, or I can just cut the throttle and hope to find it, before it gets too deep into the woods. And so I chose to chop the throttle and let it fall. And we kind of all started running that direction. And Jim pulled a fast one on me and made me feel bad because he actually found it.
Yeah, he walked right up to it.
He walked right to it, yeah. So I will tell you, I think we mentioned this in another podcast, but when you lose something out there, don't ever turn the radio off, because a lot of times you can hear it when you get to it. You can move the controls or turn the motor on. And, we've lost in the woods or out in the desert or whatever. And I've already met several guys out of my club that as soon as the airplane goes down, boom, they turn the radio off. And I'm like, dude, you'll never find your plane now, because it's not going to rebind if it's broke or something, And anyway, in this particular case, we could see the video.
Right.
And so Jim,
and that got us going in the right direction. Actually,
it got us going where we thought it was. I took off in another direction, and those guys, Jim saw it, found it, stuck it in his pocket, and then made me sit back for 20 minutes while I was out there stomping around in the woods looking for it, because he was already back at the car putting it up. So anyway, when I came back, I was all ready to buy him a new one. Oh, I'm so sorry I lost it, and he's like, nah, I have an extra one. And then they, kind of let me on the secret that he had found it out in the woods. I felt like an idiot, because I'd been walking around out there for 20 minutes. It's all his fault. So, but it was fun to fly. Now, do you fly indoor courses at all, or you just fly around your house?
Yeah, sometimes we do. There is a FPV group, Full Tilt FPV. They do bar. They've done a couple bar races. So, depending on what's going on, then actually I got the brushless after they were doing those indoor. But most of the time I'm just flying around, just trying to play around, still getting control. I'm still not an acro guy, so that's I'm trying to work on that, but that's I'll leave it in stable mode and go around. That way I don't crash as much.
Sure.
Right.
Well, you said something earlier. What did you say? Fly, crash, and repeat. So
yes, fly, crash, well, actually, I think it's fly, crash, fix,
fix, repeat.
So, you
got to get it right.
The fix has to be in there somewhere.
I don't know. I've flown airplanes where we crashed them. It didn't fix them. It just kept flying them. So.
No, I have a couple that they crashed. And, you just pop them back together, and that's it. You're done, ready to go back again.
Yeah.
So rubber band wings, stuff like that.
When Jay and I first started way back with the little foamies, we were building some Blue Core stuff out of the Blue Core foam and the little Wonder motors, and we made what they call a Slow Fly 28. And we loved those airplanes because they were you cut them out in 20 minutes, stick them together, a couple of hot glue beads, and a little $5 motor, you're already ready to go. And the whole airplane cost maybe $20, you think, Jay? I mean, with the receiver, the most expensive part of it.
That's the most, exactly.
But
and
because
the receiver was probably $20.
Yeah, probably so. And so anyway, Jay and I would fly those things around, and he'd be in a 2-cell, or I'd be on a 2-cell, he'd be on a 3-cell, he'd have a bigger prop, and I'd have a smaller one, or vice versa. And
vice versa.
Anyway, it never failed that one of us would either collide or would hit the ground, and it would break. This Blue Core, but I don't know if you've probably dealt with Blue Core, but it's got that what do you call that, lemon peel on the one side there, the little plastic part, and it so it would break, but it would hold together, right? Because it still has that skin on the one side. So Jay'd be like, oh man, or I'd be like crash it and break something on it. I'd just throw it back in the air and fly it around. It'd be all wonky, flying sideways. But then I probably chopped the nose off of that thing about 100 times and just re-glued it. I got to the point where I had a whole stack of noses, and all I would do was put the nose right back on, stick the, glue the stick in, and then we're getting the motor in and we're good to go. We learned later in life to actually put carbon fiber, thin carbon fiber rods on the bottom and the top and along the leading edge, and then we didn't really have to worry about crashing it too much more. So, but speaking of Depron, we just got a message from a guy who has now started importing Depron back to the United States. It's been gone for some time. So we're going to probably reach out to him soon and talk to him. We'll get you all that information, but that'll be kind of exciting. You can start building Depron stuff again.
I saw one of my other guys that, again, from Steve Mills, Foam Flight, said he had some Depron, and he's got the Mini Blue FO. That's he has a kit for that. That's sort of an indoor. The mini one is an indoor flyer, or small space flyer.
Right.
I have the regular Blue FO, and actually I have
all the
an
way
XL
up
that I
double
have to get up
or
there.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yep. There's the XL that's 150%. That was Jason Klein's baby. He's the one that conned Jim R.A. Coors into making that to begin with. So that's that's actually he's the only one. I guess I'm a sponsored pilot because I tend to help him out, and I fly a lot of his stuff. So and as I said, the small vendors are the ones you got to try and support and keep the hobby going.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I own 2 RA Cores. Actually, it's not sitting there anymore. It's over in the next room. But I own 2 RA Cores airplanes that I fly right out here in my front yard. So
there you go.
And they work really well.
Now, didn't they use that particular plane at NEAT? They have like they do a big gaggle where they fly around.
Yes,
with them
we had the gaggle. Yeah, we did the gaggle, and actually, normally we've done during the noontime demos. We did a gaggle this year because there were no noontime demos because there were still a decent amount of pilots, but it wasn't the normal NEAT fare, shall we say? But we still had like 30 of them in the air. I think there was at least 20 of us flying. Of most of them Bluefos. There were a couple of Yaks and. I think one of the the Messerschmitt or the Spitfire, he kitted both, so I think there was one of those there too. So we had a good gaggle going.
Well,
there is a picture of that somewhere too.
Yeah, that's a good segue because that's another reason we got you on the podcast because you just got back from the NEAT fair, right? So kind of tell us a little bit about where it was and what was different about this year than last year and what you kind of – I know you posted some pictures on our Facebook listeners group.
Yep, there's a link to my Google Photos, which is a lot of pictures. I wish I could arrange them better, but – right now, that's what we got. You want to look at some other nice pictures. There's the RC Group's photo thread, RC Group's NEAT Fair photo thread.
Right.
Paul Osinski, who I actually tent with when I'm down there. We share one of the not the Easy Up, but we have like circus. They have circus tents, it's gotten to be that where a few people go in on tents and. Believe me, it's a lot more comfortable than trying to put up Easy Ups.
Oh yeah,
especially if you're there. Some of the guys are there literally for a week.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have those up, and they have sides. So I actually set up my tent inside the inside the circus tent because that way I don't get rained on, keeps dry. It's nice.
That's it.
But NEAT Fair this is the 21st year, and they've been in Chenapel, New York, which is on the east branch of the Delaware River. It's southern. It's southern tier, almost southern tier. Not. It's this side of the Finger Lakes. Mm-hmm. So it's but it's south of Oneonta, and you sort of go south from Oneonta if you can find that. It's about 2 hours away from where I am in Albany.
Gotcha.
But it's the largest electric in the Northeast and one of the largest in next to Null is probably one of the largest, is the largest show. I don't know. Apache Pass is starting to get big from what I hear too, but NEAT Fair has been a staple for, I've been going for 10 years. And as I say, this is 21st year. There's people that have been going that long.
That's amazing.
This year it was, there were requirements. They wanted you to wear your mask when you were outside of your tent group. You had to come up to the flight line with a mask on. You didn't have to wear it while you were flying because, the flight stations are more than 6 feet apart and you're always flying with a spotter. Masks for those of us with glasses, they tend to fog up, especially when it's cold out.
That's true.
So, that's why we were able to take the mask off and fly. So when we're literally in a valley. It's Peaceful Valley Campground is the name of the campground that sponsors, or that we've been at for this long. It's a full-scale strip because the owner actually flies his little Cessna 172, and there's a couple other guys that come in, fly in, and there's people that actually have seasonal camps there. So there's a couple people that come in and fly. Actually, the guy who runs the outdoor micro thing brought his Piper Cub in on Sunday. There are some pictures of that. Actually, I think those were on my. I think I did get those in my album. They're at the end of the album, and so it's a little bit of everything can fly there. But if it's electric and it flies, it is there. Wow. You'll see a little bit of everything. I saw on the AMA podcast, Adam. Oh crap! Now I can't remember his last name. But Adam, he comes from California to come to the NEAT Fair every year because he's part of the Google's Wings group.
Oh, gotcha.
And he always brings something weird to fly. He's had some really. He put a quad on an EFX racer. He's had made a extreme flight with 4 wings, not just the 2, and flew that around. I think that went to Terry Dunn. Come to think of it, speaking of other podcasts,
there you go.
RC Roundtable.
Sure.
He's been since he moved to Buffalo. He's been there the last couple of years.
Gotcha.
Thayer Sane from Fly RC, the old magazine. He's there every year. And as I said, I think we had about I don't know if we broke 200 pilots this year because normal is 300 plus.
Right.
And there's been more than that before. The flight line is usually full. And this year there was some space on either side. So,
wow.
Wasn't, as I say, it wasn't normal, and the vendor list was very low this year. It was just Hobby King brought some, they bring planes to look at, and they have some stuff that was in their warehouse that they have to get rid of, so they bring it and, raffle and sell some stuff. And Zeke's Park Scale Models was there this year. So that was it for the vendors, and besides our food vendor. And, it was a good time. I still had a lot of fun. It's more to go see who you see versus, spending a lot of time on the flight line. But, it's more to go visit your friends because these are the guys you see once, twice a year.
Right.
Was the weather cooperative?
Yeah, it wasn't. This year we didn't really get a bad rainstorm during the event, but it did get cold. It went down in the 30s a couple nights. Friday night was, I think, the high 30s, and Saturday night was we had frost actually Friday and Saturday night. Saturday night I wound up in the car. My son and I wound up in the car because it was just too cold.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know
what
happened. Wear shorts at that event. I'm normally wearing shorts and a t-shirt at all my art.
Well, this is the last 3 years we've been blessed with warmer weather. Yeah, we had some rain. There's usually one day of rain. That's true. You got to live. You sort of live with that. But the last couple of years it's been warm enough where I was in shorts and shorts and a t-shirt, maybe a jacket in the morning because it was in the 50s. But
right.
50s is, I'm sorry, we're not in Arizona. I can't, Arizona or Texas where it's 80s, 90s, hundreds at this time of the year. So
that is awesome.
But it's always been a good time. I have a good time. I shoot a lot of pictures. As I said, I shoot more than I fly, but that's sort of also part of my giving back to the hobby as well.
Now, we are worldwide, so we have listeners all over the world. And for those that are not familiar with the NEAT Fair, it is the Northeast Electric Aircraft Technology Show. It was held this year just in September, I believe, right? September.
Yep, it's always the third weekend in September. Usually is Labor Day. The next weekend is Rhinebeck, New York, the Rhinebeck Jamboree, and at the old Rhinebeck Aerodrome. And then NEAT Fair is the week after that, and a lot of people go to Rhinebeck and then go to NEAT Fair. So they'll.
Well, it's like Steve said, it's one of the largest electric festivals in the Northeast. I know that some of the other electrics have really caught on in the last few years, and some of these events are starting to get bigger and bigger. We hold one out here, the Arizona Electric Festival, and it has gotten almost as big as some of the other ones too. It's one of the largest out this direction anyway. So they're slowly getting bigger. It's a little bit difficult for us because, people are having to drive a long way to get here. Some of the areas of the Northeast, like you said, it's only 2 hours away for you. Some of these guys are driving 6, 7, 8 hours.
Yeah.
Well, we have people that come from Massachusetts, Ohio.
Yeah.
They're down to South Jersey.
Right.
So it's
and we understand that because they've been there for 21 years. The Arizona Electric Festival has only been here for 13, so we still got a little ways to catch up. But we are starting to get people from further and further away. I think last year, Jay, we had somebody from Canada and somebody else from New York or somewhere in Florida. Yep. So I think word's getting out, and I think with these bigger events, unfortunately, COVID has kind of hit us all a little bit hard, and some of the events have gotten pushed back or canceled, but I think that this is one of those things that people enjoy, like you said, being amongst friends, not necessarily just going to fly, but people do that too. And I think it's kind of that combination of taking a plane, going out and having fun, seeing the new, products that are on the market. And
it's just seeing the guys and reminiscing, having, shooting the crap and telling lies. So, that's a lot of fun.
And then there's the extracurriculars that were not quite as bad, not quite as loud as the last few years, but that's because of what's going on. There's always there's always a night fly. One of the groups runs events in their big top tent.
Mm-hmm.
There's a vapor fly.
Vaporfly.
For
the vapors.
Little vapors.
Oh, that's we used to do that up in Alaska a lot. Yeah. For our...
they set up a course in the big top, and you have to fly around the course, and it's it gets to be fun.
Sure.
It's a good time. Everybody's there's a few adult beverages are taken, and you go from there.
That makes the night go faster anyway.
Yes, it does. There's usually some apple pie running around of some sort or another, and other, select beverages. So
excellent.
Stuff you can't talk about on a family show.
There you go. No doubt. Now, I know that the vendors were, kind of low this year, and as such, it's kind of that way all over. Unfortunately, Jay and I've had this conversation 100 times about just the hobby itself and the way the market's moving, and people are so, much into just buying something right out of the box, and the building has kind of gone away. And a lot of these companies have, got hit hard in this, in these later, years and have gone by the wayside. And we really, feel that that's a sad part. So having said all that, and knowing the vendors were low, was there anything that you saw at NEAT that really kind of jumped out, some new design? I know people bring stuff, but was there anything that just you thought, wow, that is something that's just way out of the norm?
This year I really didn't see anything that was like, oh, wow. One of my buddies brings this 12-foot Telemaster that's well lit that, he's let me fly for some reason or another. I'm surprised, but I figured I've never flown a Telemaster before, and he said, "Hey, do you think could you take this?" I'm like, "Well, I can fly anything else."
Sure.
The Telemaster is just like a big Cub. You just got to make sure you're, I didn't do anything stupid with it, so
right.
It's still in one piece. But there was, some of the stuff. I don't know what was flying this year that actually, I think some of the night stuff, one of the guys actually had like bottle rockets or like a Roman candle shooting off his Blue FO XL that it was flying around at night. And the lit up stuff, I think that's usually the coolest stuff is all the night flying.
Right.
And that's half the fun of being there is make sure you're there at night. You don't go to the hotel.
Right.
Not that there's that many hotels in that area, but
in the last few years, the night, program has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. I am very impressed with all of the new technology that's coming out in the LEDs, the programmable lights, the patterns that they can program. Jay and I were talking about the Arduino boards and how they can actually run the whole system, and it has just gotten not out of hand, but just amazingly, just expansive when it comes to this night program. And just think how many years, not too many years ago, we didn't even have a night program.
Yep.
And now here we are with this, program that allows us to get in and use LEDs and, put them on airplanes that we would never even think that we could put them on. So yeah, it's amazing to me. And actually, Steve just sent a little link to particleinnovations.com. We'll post it up there, but he evidently has got kind of a really cool idea where he's putting together. You said it's not an Arduino board; it's something else. But
no, it's called the RC Pixel.
Oh,
and if it's Bluetooth, from an Android device, there's an app for it, and you can change all sorts of parameters in the app to make it, do all sorts of different patterns and stuff. So. No, I know I've seen the stuff of the Night Radian that people have done, but this was something that I know Hardik was working on. He was also working with Alex Grieve. If you know anybody, anything about FPV, Alex Grieve, IB Crazy, the antenna designer.
Right.
He was working with him on a combat module.
Nice.
I think I'm not sure where that is at the moment, but I know they were playing with it. It was, again, it may have been something that got nailed by COVID because it was supposed to be out this year.
Darn that COVID is pushing everything on.
Right?
Well, I like I said, I'm super impressed with the technology that's come out for these night programs, and they're actually getting more and more fun. It's a riot to go out there and last time we were at the Arizona Electric Festival, AK Mike had never flown really too much night before, and he got to flying. He was just having a riot out there. I mean, I couldn't charge batteries fast enough. He flying, just like, oh my gosh, this is so much more fun. We played the whole stealth game, and we just got really crazy. And it's good to see all these innovative products coming out, better LEDs, more programs. It's amazing to me, just the technology.
And the thing is also, there's a challenge to flying at night, so that you sort of know what you're looking at. 2 years ago, I was flying the Flybeam that I have that actually got extra lights on it. But I was up, and all of a sudden, somebody launched their Walrus, and I took him out. And what's worse, it was somebody it wound up being somebody I know, because it's Neat Fair. You sort of know everybody.
Right.
He wasn't thrilled, but they booted a couple servos, and which I actually had in my box. So I was like, here, take the servos, fix the plane up, and he had it actually flying the next night. So.
Excellent. Yeah, Walrus
wasn't
that
bad.
big fat thing that takes a lot of abuse. I have one. I have the Night Walrus as well. So now I was going to say there. Oh man, I got old and had a total brain hemorrhage here. Sorry.
Yeah, well,
ready to go.
Do you need to take your medicine real quick?
I forgot to take my medicine. That's crazy.
Oh, I took mine with dinner, so no.
There we go.
Steve's he's sharp. He's sharp, Mike. Not so much.
What's that?
I said Steve's sharp, but Mike not so much.
I know, right?
That explains it.
In the box. Well, I was going somewhere. So anyway, we were talking about the night program, and we mentioned that everybody was kind of flying stuff, and I was going to ask you a couple of doesn't really have anything tonight, but kind of segueing out of the night. We had an episode on the Hadron, and you mentioned on our Facebook listeners page that after you listen to that, you kind of dug out your own. So kind of bring us up. What caused you to do that? Was it us? Was it
Well, actually, it was because I see it back there. That looks familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately, my stuff is all in the basement. The room that I'm in used to be my RC stuff room, but when we lost our last tenant in our basement, and there's a story behind that too.
Right.
But that's where everything sort of migrated to. But
gotcha.
No. But I had a Hadron that I had gotten from a friend of mine, and I've flown it on 3S a few times. And what was it? It was actually, I think, 2 years ago at the event down in Warwick, New York. I had put it in. It was fixable, but I just put it to the side and hadn't looked at it for a while. And then I saw you guys were talking about vectored thrust. I'm like, you know what? I should actually pull this back out. And put it back, foam tack, and it was back together. Now, because I hadn't flown it in a while, I'd forgotten all my settings for it.
Sure.
I still had it programmed in the radio, but
sure.
You got to set it up and going.
Right.
And I did fly it on 3S most of the time. First couple flights on 3S, I just couldn't get a good launch. I finally threw the 4S in there and got a good flight. It's still scary. Let's put it that way. I'm not 100% comfortable with it, but no, it's flying as long as I don't do anything stupid. I haven't tried to do the flat spin yet, but I'm getting there. So
well, that's good.
Well, Steve, I will tell you, I need to repair mine because I kind of broke off a piece. AK Mike was down here last week, and we took it out, and him and I went ahead and flew this, and I went ahead and I was flying only 4S, only with a heavier battery. And by the way, I found out that it was a 3300 as opposed to a 2200. It definitely flies better on the 3300.
Yeah, a little bit lighter probably.
No, it's a little bit heavier.
No, the heavier.
It's heavier.
Oh, I mean the 30.
No, he's starting the 33.
200 is probably.
Yeah, 2200 lighter. It just seems, and plus it was a little bit, it was windy, like when Mike and I, when we flew, that's how it was when we first flew. So on the 3300, it penetrated the wind. It wasn't getting thrown around. It handled the extra weight, and it just seemed to be a little bit more stable on the heavier battery. Now we had to push it all the way back. There was no room anywhere else. Right. But I was a little worried about that. But once we started flying it, oh man, it was so much better. So anyway, I flew it. Mike flew it a little bit, and then I was kind of showing Mike, how to do the spin, and I got a little low.
Yeah.
I got a little low. So you definitely got to watch your altitude, because I got low enough that I pulled out. Let the nose fall to get some speed. It was still kind of in that flat, coming just in that transition. Right. Applied just a little bit of power, got it to get a little bit of forward motion, and it luckily the grass was high out there, and it just kind of poof into the grass, and I broke off. Where's that piece? It's sitting here somewhere. Oh yeah, I just broke off of the battery bay. I kind of broke this little piece off, so no big deal, easy fix. Didn't do any other damage to it. That was it, since it hit perfectly flat. Didn't even break the prop, so I was really happy about that.
Wow.
But
that's unusual.
I do like that plane. It's definitely it's eye catching. It flies well once you trim it out and everything. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. So you were down at Warwick.
Pride?
I didn't.
Did it break your pride?
Well, yeah, a little bit. But when you were down at work, there's what event was that? Because I know they.
There's a fun fly at Warwick, and that's usually June, the weekend after Father's Day. It's a Warwick Electric Fun Fly. I actually call it Neat Fair Light because a lot of the same people are there.
Yeah, sure.
It's the New York, New Jersey crew, and it's a fun time. It's a full scale airport.
It's at the Warwick Airport. Yeah. Okay.
And they've got a Stearman. There's a PT-19. The actual James Bond airplane is there.
The little BD-5?
That little jet?
Yeah, the BD-5.
Yeah. That's hiding in one of their hangars there.
That's all.
So I didn't realize that until, 2 years ago, when the last event. And but the one nice thing about Warwick is there's everything. They have a paved runway, they have the grass runway, and there's a lake.
Oh, wow.
So you get to fly everything.
Everything, huh?
Very
Or
nice.
bring your boats. People bring their boats there to run in the lake, and electric stuff. And it's the same thing. You camp out and camp on the grass strip, and it's a fun time. As I say, I see most of the same people at Neat Fair, and that's as I say, I see people twice a year.
Sure, yeah.
Neat Fair in Warwick.
That's fun.
So
Well, you know what, Mike? Fun fact, if you didn't know it, but Warwick
I was
is
going to say,
it's my hometown.
yeah, Jay has a little.
That's where I
affinity
grew up.
for Warwick.
It was Warwick, New York. So
Wow.
even though I wasn't into RC at the time, but I've been out to the Warwick Airport, numerous times, and it's not far from where I used to live. So I definitely think I'm gonna have to call up some of my old buddies, and we may have to take a trip and go check that out.
Yeah, keep informed.
Fly in because we've had full scale. They've had full scale come in while we're there. Yes, it's sort of like a NOTAM that we're flying,
Sure.
but they say as long as we get warning, we come down, full scale can come in.
Yep.
Nothing that hasn't happened before.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that happens out a lot of places actually, so that's kind of cool. Well, that's something that we should at least look into because that's the one thing I haven't been to Warwick, so Jay would have to take me up there and kind of show me around. But that's
It's I like that area too. It's not not a bad area. As I say, that's about 2 hours south of me, so that's not that bad.
That's awesome.
It's a small, as I say, it's a small world.
Sure. Especially in the RC world. I mean, you mentioned some names, Jason Klein and Matt and some of these other guys that you were talking about. And although I don't know them personally, I've come across their names or I've seen them on posts or RC groups. And, you just kind of start.
Or we bump into somebody that knows them. That's the biggest thing.
That's the weirdest part. And
well, that's sort of how Jason and I got together. Was we were Crashcast listeners, and at Neat Fair they give you. There was one guy that was making RC groups badges, so you had your RC group's name along with your name underneath it.
That's cool.
And I wore it down to Warwick, and Jason had his on while we were down there. I'm like, it was like my first time down there. I'm like, this was like 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, Brown-Eyed Fool. Hey, I know you. And we sort of, I sort of invaded his tent not
awesome.
his Easy Up, not his tent, his Easy Up that year. But it was that's sort of how we got together. And as I say, the Crashcast listeners turned into AOA, and there's most of those guys are still Patrick, Phil Hinkle, Nick they have come over from that podcast land. And when, as I say, I listen to everything. I'm listening to a bunch of helicopter podcasts that, not that I fly helicopter, but I listen to it enough where I can talk a good game.
Sure.
And actually, I surprised somebody out at the field at Lee. We were talking about some things. He's like, "How do you know this stuff?" I go, I spend too much time listening to podcasts. RC Heli Nation back in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
The Heli Heads now, Freefall RC, Telerotor. Those are the main heli podcasts.
Right.
And it's just, that's sort of what keeps me occupied, that I just listen to them when I'm in the car, because I don't play radio or listen to music. I listen to podcasts.
Right.
And usually I can get through every week. I'm usually current on podcasts because of that.
Right.
So not that I have that big of a commute, but it's just, and also when I drive to the flying fields,
Sure.
That gives you something to do.
Well, it's been a labor of love for us. I mean, we, originally started this on a kind of a whim, and to have people that actually recognize us. We've been places when we were at one of our last events, people came up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's the Park Flyer podcast guys." We were like, "What?"
We were like looking behind us, like, who? Where?
We're
who?
like,
who?
Yeah, who are you talking about? And they're like, "You guys." It was kind of interesting.
I can't believe you came out to our event. And I'm like,
I know.
Oh yeah.
That's again, it's the RC Roundtable guys came up to AMA East a couple years ago for the first time, and that's where I met I met those guys there, and also Steve and Kevin from Freefall were at AMA East as well, so I ran into them there. It's to say it's you get to know you get to meet. It's nice to meet the people, to meet the faces behind the mic.
That's it. Yeah. Well, this year was our big jump to YouTube, and Jay has been spearheading that. He's done a really good job. So we used to do, kind of some audio mixing and all this stuff afterwards. And now with the live video, it's a little bit more difficult. Now, of course, we're 5 years into this. We're a little bit better today at doing podcasts and not making as many mistakes as we did when we first started.
Very true.
It's been a joyous time, and we really, really appreciate our listeners, and we really do. And to be able to have you on the show has just been phenomenal. Tell us, though, what we can do better, because we're always looking for that. It's kind of funny. We put it out there and we say, hey, man, if we're doing anything wrong, let us know. And we do get comments, but everybody's like, just keep doing what you're doing. And we're like, okay, well, we're just talking to each other.
But that's actually part of the fun, is that, you get the interaction in between you guys. It's like a day at the field. Now, actually, last Sunday was my first day I went out, and it was, I think, like the third time this summer I'd been with a group of people flying, and it was nice. It was like, okay, hey, and then some of the guys I hadn't seen in a while. This was a field in Lee, Massachusetts. It's about an hour away from me, but I knew a couple of the guys actually come into my indoor club. So it's like, let's go out and say, hey, well, I haven't seen them since COVID hit.
Right.
It's like, let's go out and say hi and see how everybody's doing. And it was a nice day at the field.
Sure.
They actually, unfortunately, was the Barn Speed Hobbies used to be out in Lee. Again, another hobby shop that closed, but the group of guys that used to go there and are still flying at the field there. So that's near that where that hobby shop was. So they go out. One of the guys said, hey, yeah, we're going to go out Sunday. I'm like, yeah, why not? It's something to go out and make a day and just have, run into babe, have a good time.
Wow.
And, it was a lot of fun.
It is always fun for us to go out and fly. I think that's one of the things that kind of melds us together, is that we can go out to the park, we can fly. I mean, I think at the last Electric Festival, we spent more time talking to everybody than we did actually flying. First couple of years, we were out on the flight line a lot, and this time we were out just visiting and having a good time. And I think you're right. I think that's what the RC world is all about: meeting good friends, making good friends, hanging out with them, making, trying to develop a skill, and then getting out there and having a good time.
Yeah, that's the only good thing about COVID. It's been, like you said, you got out to go see your buddies. Well, you haven't seen them in 3-4 months. Right. You missed the summer, because of it. And now you get to see them and catch up, and everybody's been building something or doing something's weird or something's going on with their family. So, it's kind of like a good meetup, and I don't know how much you actually got a chance to fly, as opposed to you end up talking, and then you go, oh, man, I guess we should let's get up and fly something. I know that happens a lot, too.
Sure.
Well, and that was it. It's like there's really like two people can only go up at once in that field. So, and most of the guys, there was like 10, 12 of us. So it's like everybody flew one at a time, or a couple people flying at the same time. But most of the time it was just one person up at a time and just got to watch what they were flying. We had a little bit of everything flying there, from gliders. I did put the Hadron up once, and there were some heli guys. Even a gas helicopter went up, an old T-Rex 700 with a fly bar. So I don't remember. I wish I knew which engine it was, but Sato was out flying the gasser, and that's hey, got to see everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Well, remember on that Hadron, it's 4S or no S. Who coined that phrase? It was Jason that coined it.
No, that was Matt Vaudry.
Oh, Matt.
He's of the B-17 bomber. The foam bomber, if you ever look at his stuff.
Right.
That's sort of his claim to fame, between that, the bus, and the rocket CUDA.
Oof.
That's he has a few things going there.
Well, we're happy that you got out there and flew that thing around. That was exciting, and we're glad we could be a part of that. So, we are looking for suggestions. So hit up your group in the your other side of the country there, and see what we can do to have a contest. We mentioned on one of the last podcasts that we kind of got a donation, so to speak, of some airframes, and we are looking to create a contest to give one of them away, or one or two of them away. And we're just trying to rack our brains. So if you guys can come up with a good contest idea, give us a call, 830-444-4943. Jump on our RC, I guess it's the Park Flyer Podcast listeners group on Facebook, and give us an idea there too. But we kind of know what direction we want to go, but we're always willing to entertain ideas to try to grow our listenership. Our listeners page is growing every day. We get several new, responses for people that want to join, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And I know that the Angle of Attack and the Crashcast guys have been pretty active, and we give a shout out to those guys because I know they were very loyal to those podcasts, and to have a lot of you guys come over to us is really a joy. We really appreciate you guys.
And you spice up the listeners group a lot. I mean, you guys are constantly posting what's going on. You, like I said, you just put the pictures on there from Neat, and that's basically very neat. Because I always like, seeing what other guys are doing and what's going on around the country and ideas that guys are coming up with. So appreciate it.
There was I took a lot of pictures at the lobster combat this year too. So that's when you see the plane chasing around, that's the streamer. It's a streamer chase, and you get a lot. If you win, you get a lobster roll. So the guy actually comes down from Maine. He doesn't cook the lobster on site, but he eats lobster al is what he goes by.
Wow.
You'll see if you look, you'll see somebody with a lobster hat. That's Al.
If that isn't a regional thing.
Yes. I've ever heard
well, it's Maine. What do you want? It's lobster.
I hear you. Lived in New Hampshire for quite a while.
Anytime I go to Maine, I got to eat lobster. That's just the place to be. So.
Exactly. And as I said, there's they did a Battle of Britain launch because that's always during that time as well. Mm-hmm. Tom Hunt, who runs the Neat Fair, actually designed Spitfire for Hobby King. So he's got a lot of history. He used to work for Grumman too. So
that always helps.
That helped.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, he knows a few things.
It's always good to have people that know a few things.
Right. And so it's just a fun event. That's what I enjoy going to. It's just someplace where you meet up with your friends and have a good time, and you fly a few planes in the process.
Yeah, that's absolutely. What airplane do you like to fly the most?
I don't know. I have two. Unfortunately, I'm one of those collectors. I have a bunch of stuff down in the basement. As I said, I went up. Oh, that's right. There we lost that. I went up with the glider. That was Sig Riser that just went up the other day, and just at lunchtime went out for a fly, and it was I got one flight in, but that was all I had to do was one
flight.
Power.
And your neck was sore?
One power, and that was it. I was up for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow. I enjoyed that. I have a bunch of RA Corps stuff that I enjoy flying all that as well. The 3D foamies. I got the Night Vision Air that thing makes me look like a better pilot than I actually am because it flies really well. I mean, I can fly that hands off inverted, and it fly. You get it the proper speed. It hangs in. I have and I fly multiple radios, so it's not all Spectrum stuff. I have Free Sky. I even have Tactic stuff because the Hadron's actually on the Tactic. Right. I have a bunch of stuff on my Spectrum, and I'm moving to Free Sky for the most. My newer stuff, I have the QX7 that I've gotten to learn a lot about, and that's sort of where I want to move my stuff to. But no, I'm not anything new's going on there. I still have the DX9 for Spectrum, and I'll fly anything. I'm not fussy.
So, Steve, I take it then you're more in the category your favorite plane is the one that you're flying at the time.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It can be anything.
Yeah.
Wild Hog, the Flybeam, the gliders, slope soaring.
Gotcha.
I have Dave Garwood, who used to write the column for AMA, lives here, and he's an enabler.
He's an enabler. I like that word. He's using it quite a bit tonight.
I have that's where I've gotten into slope soaring. And he got me into slope soaring. So not that I've gone out to any of the big places, but there's a couple times there's a couple local area things that we can get to. So I have a Zulu and a Lula and a Weasel that are slope.
Yeah, it's something I miss here in Texas. Is doing slope soaring here.
Right.
I have a friend of mine, Scott Berryman. He lives up in Boulder. He's the guy I talked about not too long ago when I went up there and flew the jet. And they've got a really beautiful place to go slope soaring. It's really
Oh yeah, Colorado's actually where they've done a lot of DS, the dynamic soaring stuff, where they set the records for 500 miles an hour for a non-powered airplane. Yeah, it's like. I couldn't keep track of that.
Yeah, there's a place here in Phoenix, just up north of here, where they do that too. They've set several records up that direction. So I guess it has to be the right kind of valley and the right kind of conditions. Everything has to go just perfect for them to do it. But yeah, those airplanes weigh about 50 pounds, and getting those things doing 500 miles an hour.
Yeah, I just wonder how many G's they're taking.
Oh yeah,
they probably would never have been able to get to these speeds had it not been for the invention of titanium gear servos, because you can only go so far with a plastic servo before it just strips right out.
Right.
And, you're limited, but now that they've got the titanium doesn't move. So it's way stronger. And now, I just actually at the field not too long ago was talking to, one of my guys, and, they got, some new JR servos that are almost, I think he said they were 1,100 inch-pounds per servo. So, and there's two, they fly airplanes big enough that they have two per control surface. So you're talking almost 2,200 inches or torque, however, inch ounce.
Inch ounces of torque.
So, that you could lift your car with that, literally. It's just huge, the amount. And they're so fast. They're down into the almost a half a second range, which is just phenomenal. So digital, they're all.
Well, I guess so. If you're putting them on things like, like your turbine jet, or like you said, the DS slope soaring, because once again, if you're doing 400 or 500 miles an hour, think about it, 400 or 500 miles an hour, what the pressure would be on a wing surface. Yeah.
Oh,
and then if the way those guys are turning them, as the radius that they're trying to turn in, the G-force combined on top of that, I can't even imagine how you calculate that. But that's just some stupid force.
Yeah, we're gonna have some kind of. Yeah, exactly. We'll have to have some astrophysicists on here to give us all those details.
Well, if you ever watch those guys when they do it, they're like in between like some rocks.
Oh yeah, you might get hit by that thing.
Yeah, that's the reason why they do that, because if something goes ping and that thing goes,
everybody jumps below the rock
you have something that's doing 500 miles an hour and weighs 50 pounds. That's going through somebody.
Getting hit by a tank.
Yep,
that's hilarious.
So, seriously.
Well, we, unfortunately, looking at our time recorder here, our hour is up. We have ultimately enjoyed having you on, Steve. It has been a joy. Thank you so much for supporting our podcast. And
well, thank you for having me on.
We will definitely.
This is fun.
Well, like you said, you're our favorite stalker, so
that's right.
Constantly calling us up.
And I will continue to do that.
Well, it's a pleasure. All your phone messages have been very unique, every single one. So
Well, don't worry. I'm not fussy either. I call other podcasts too.
Oh, okay. Well, good. So there will be multiple restraining orders.
I'm an equal opportunity
equal opportunity offender. He just calls everybody. That is awesome. Well, a shout out to A-Power Batteries, PFPC10. Grab a couple of batteries for your electrics And you can go to rcbatteriesusa.com and then check out the 3D Aero Ventures over at their website. Use the word Park Flyer and receive a discount. And Jay is still working on his 3D airplane. I think you got some.
Oh, I got my parts in. So I got my.
Oh, look at that!
There they are, my little taps.
Excellent. So he's going to try and tap out some stuff and let us know how that goes next time around. Hopefully, AK Mike will be back in from his little adventures, and we'll be able to have him on as well. Give us a shout out, 830-444-4943. Let us know what you think about a contest. Steve, what a joy to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and I guess, Michael, from here in Arizona.
Jay from the hills of Texas.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.